The Messiah is also a process. It's a whole process. It's a whole ongoing. It's a movement of people, an undercurrent, a spiritual movement that will come about towards the end times. So there will be several individuals involved in this.
Yeah, that would be New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
Oh, really?
USA.
Which part of New Hampshire? Because my ancestors came from there.
Oh, really? Yeah, southern New Hampshire.
Well, that's where they came from, Durham and then Alton and all these places right in that area. Okay?
Really?
Yeah.
Very good, very good.
But that's back in the 1600s, okay?
Okay. Well, I don't remember seeing them.
Okay.
The Zoom meetings help me a lot. I find it much easier to give a talk. It's more spontaneous. Also, I get a certain feedback from the people who turn up, and it's for us it's good. It's more of a human equation, a human counter.
Yes.
I don't think I've met Timothy Murray before. Have you been on?
Good evening, Sylvia. No, I've not been on this before. I've been over to visit with Yair in his apartment once or twice, but I've not been on the Zoom before.
Nice. Where are you from? Canada?
I'm in the U.S., state of New Hampshire, southern part of the state.
Okay. Nice.
Yes, I have several of Yair's books, and I teach a class on the Lost 10 Tribes in the Bible school that I'm working with.
Really? And so people have it as an elective, or is it compulsory?
It's usually an assigned course. We don't have electives. We have a program of it's a 3-year Bible training program, and we just teach the various books of the Bible and related subjects like this when the time comes in the calendar.
Really? That's interesting. I don't think I've ever heard of a school that had a class on the 10 tribes ever. But
yes.
I think it's wonderful and it's timely.
It is. It's wonderful is right.
So do you use Yair's books as your textbooks, or do you?
No, let's see. What do we use for a text? I refer to Yair's books. I assign reading in Yair's books. But for a text, I've been using an outline prepared by a scholar that was over there in Jerusalem, early 20th century. His name Joseph Harriman. Yeah, and I think, Yair, I think I brought one of his books to you one time. It's probably in your bookcase somewhere, probably lost.
Well, that's wonderful. I was wondering if I were ever to teach on this, how I would organize the course or the class, and
yeah,
like that might be interesting to hear what Joseph.
And we mentioned that the impression from the Bible, from biblical sources and from other sources, commentaries and so on, is that the Messiah, as well as being a definite person that we have to believe in, the son of the ultimate Messiah, the descendant of King David. In addition to that, it's a movement. It's a whole movement, a whole process that will happen amongst certain people, an ongoing development. And there will be several important people in it. And so the sources we have concerning Messiah, Mashiach ben David, Messiah son of Joseph, and related matters can be assimilated, can be comprehended in that framework. It's part of a messianic movement, as we will show. The messianic movement, part of a movement leading up to the coming of the Messiah, enveloping and preparing the ways, if you say, for the Messiah. So in the book of Obadiah, the last verse of the book of Obadiah, it says, "Then Savior shall come to Mount Zion to judge the mountains of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's." It says saviors in the plural. Saviors in the plural. So the commentaries say that So the Talmud mentions the plural because it also includes the Messiah son of Joseph, Mashiach ben Yosef, as well as Mashiach ben David. And we have other verses in the Bible or indications in the Bible where more than one person is involved, but they are, as if to say, playing a role in the ongoing process of redemption. And the Messiah, son of Joseph, it is important for us because it also involves the 10 tribes. It tells us something about the 10 tribes. It embodies the 10 tribes. Personally, I believe in it. A lot of other people believe in it. There will be a real person by that name. And most of the things said about him will come to pass, some way others. But even without that, he's also symbolic. For instance, in Israel, I live in Israel. And here we have different types of religious Jews. You have national religious Jews. And national religious Jews are the ones who usually have a knitted kippot, skull caps. They're more modern. They serve in the army. A good portion of the settlements are from their community, but some of them, they're a little more liberal, one could say. They have different attitudes towards Judaism, but some of them are very learned. They're very religious in their own way, expressed in a different way. And they also have insights, teachings of interest. Incidentally, where I live is also considered a settlement, even though it's 70,000 people, or 80,000 people. It's actually quite a medium-sized city by Israeli standards. It's called Brit-Am. It's in the liberated areas of Judah and Samaria. It's not that far from the biblical site of Bethlehem. And it's from Jerusalem now, it's about between half an hour to 40 minutes all told to get from here to the center of Jerusalem, which isn't bad. And it's quite convenient, and I quite like it here. I've been here for about 5 years or more. But I'm quite used to being here. But anyway, they also said that the Bible also mentions that wherever a person lives, he likes it. It's a quality, a gift that the Kodesh Baruch Hu placed in the heart of every person, that wherever they live, they will like it. So a person gets attached to where he lives, even though others may not be so, may not find it so attractive. He finds the good within it. And where this present talk is kind of concerned, just a second. Timothy mentioned a book being in the bookshelves. So I'll tell you an interesting thing that happened to me. I have a friend in Sweden, Örjan, and Örjan is also studies the Lost in Tribes, and now he has books out in English. He finds the Lost in Tribes in Sweden. He's big into mathematics, mathematical equations, and so on. Before he published his book in English, he published one in Swedish. And known him for years, we've been corresponding for years, and he also gave us information on these, and so on. He also came to Israel and met him. So he sent me a book of his in Swedish. I don't know Swedish, I can't read Swedish. But I appreciate having books on the Lost in Tribes, because that is a field I'm occupied with. Even if I don't read them, don't understand them, it's good to have them. It's part of the whole package, one could say, of the whole of what I'm dealing with. So I put it in the bookshelf. And then about 6 months later, I was in a difficult situation. So every now and again in a difficult situation. And so I began to pray. And suddenly I had a message, look at Örjan's book. So I took the book down from the bookshelf, flipped it open, and I found a check in it, a moderate sum, but a very welcome one. So that I don't know why he had, for some reason he had written a check and inserted it for me within the book. And apparently he wanted to see if I would look through it with them. He said, if I would look through it, that would be my reward. Otherwise, I would have to go with them. Anyway, so that's a...
Very, very good, very good.
And
That was the ram in the thicket.
uh,
Yeah.
anyway, so the story of, we have not the story, we have the records, we have traditions and commentaries concerning the Messiah, son of Joseph, Mashiach ben Yosef. We call it MBJ because it is a combination actually of Messiah, son of Joseph, or Mashiach ben Yosef. So we put them together and we got MBJ, which rhymes with LBJ. And when I was young, they used to have a slogan from in America, all the way with LBJ. So we say all the way with MBJ. And those who remember. And so that's what we had. Anyway, so Maimonides is a major authority in Judaism. Maimonides, also known as Rambam. Rambam, it's important to emphasize the M, Rambam, because you also have another authority who lived shortly afterwards, Ramban, and is known in English as Nachmanides. So we have Maimonides and Nachmanides, and both of them are important to our studies. Maimonides was an important authority. He came from Spain, he moved to North Africa, from North Africa he moved to Egypt. In Egypt he was the personal physician to Salah ad-Din, the king of Egypt and the king of Syria, and he is a famous Salah ad-Din who fought against Richard the Lionhearted from England in the Crusades. And the Rambam was also an important scholar in his own right. He wrote a lot of works, books on medicine that are still referred to, and on Jewish law, Jewish tradition, or philosophy. And there is a Guide to the Perplexed, which is very useful concerning, amongst other things, it has important notes concerning the gift of prophecy. And he wrote a great number of works, which when you see them in the libraries, large volumes, but much of the space is taken up by commentary, summarizing all the laws of the Bible and of the Talmud and everything that was pertinent in his time. And this work is still used. And he is one of three major authorities in Jewish jurisprudence, which are used even now to decide what the law says. And he wrote, and he made a principle, any law which is still pertinent or that still may come into effect, he wrote it down. 2 points that will come to him, and one of these said that the Messiah, son of David, would build the temple, and also that the Messiah, son of David, will allow will enable every Israelite, every Hebrew to know what tribe they pertain to. Anyway, Maimonides says in chapter 11, he says, in the books of the kings and their wars, in chapter 11:1, he says, in the future the Messianic king will arise and will renew the dynasty of David. He will restore it to its initial sovereignties, its initial rulership. He will build the temple and he will gather the dispersed of Israel. Then in his days, the observance of all the statutes will return to their previous state. We will offer sacrifices, observe the sabbatical and jubilee years, according to all their particulars as described in the Torah. Anyone who does not believe in him or doesn't know what is coming denies not only the statements of the other prophets, but those of the Torah and Moses, our teacher. The Torah testifies to his kingdom. The Torah testifies to his coming. Deuteronomy 33:5 states, God will bring back your captivity and will have mercy on you. He will again gather you from among the nations. Even if your diaspora is at the ends of the heavens, God will gather you up from there and bring you to the land. I'm skipping over a few portions here to get to the point. These explicit words of the Torah include all the statements made by all the prophets. And he goes on, he quotes different prophecies referring to both King David and to the Messiah, which are worth looking at, but we'll go on. He also says, chapter 12, Maimonides says, during the area of the Messianic king, once his kingdom has been established and all of Israel has gathered around him, The entire nation's line of descent will be established on the basis of his words and the prophetic spirit which will rest upon him. As Malachi 3:3 states, he shall sit as a refiner and purifier. He will purify the lineage of the Levites first, saying, he is a priest of defined lineage. He is a Levite of defined lineage. A priest in Hebrew is Cohen. You have Cohens and Levites. The Cohens, both of them were from the tribe of Levi. The Cohens were descended from Aaron, and Levites were descended from other families of Levi. The Cohens were the ones who offered up the sacrifice. They played the major role in the temple, but the Levites were also there. The Levites did everything else. They were in the choir, they played the music, they did work around the temple. They kept it going, they maintained it. And they were also proud of their status. So you have Levites and Cohens, or Levites and priests. Wherever it says priests in English translation means Cohens. Nowadays you have families, you have people called Cohen. Cohen is a common name. Probably in Israel, I think Cohen is the most popular, not the most widespread family name. There are a lot of family names. Doesn't mean that there are that many people called Cohen, but there are more people called Cohen than any other name. And you have people called Levi, and they have traditions. People called Cohen have traditions. They're from the Cohens. People called Levi that they're from the Levites, but it's not certain. Some people, names change. People take names, family names, for all kinds of reasons. There are stories when people came even to Israel. They had some type of family name or something like that, and the people, they didn't speak Hebrew, the people didn't understand them, so they wrote down Cohen or Levi. Also, there are stories, claims in the Ellis Island, they did it a lot. They gave the name Cohen and Levi to different Jews coming from overseas to America, even though some people claim that it is not correct. That on Ellis Island, the officials were quite strict and quite efficient. It's unlikely that it happened, but there's an urban legend that it did happen. At all events, people pick up names, take names, or lose names, and we can't be 100% certain who is who. So the Messiah will first of all will tell each and every one who is the Levi, who is the Cohen, and from that he will go on to the other tribes. It begins with Levi, the tribe of Levi, and he goes on to the other tribes. Those whose lineage, that is lineage from the people who think they're Cohens and they aren't, he will not recognize, will be low to the status of Israelites, ordinary Israelites. It's not that bad. It's not the end of the world. Anyway, this is implied by Ezra 2:6-3. The governor said to them, you shall not eat of the most holy things until the priest arises to wear the Urim and Thummim, that is the breastplates through which they were able to divine will of Almighty. From this verse, says Maimonides, you can infer the prophetic spirit will be used to define and notify the pedigree of lineage. And when he defines the lineage of the Israelites, he will make known the tribal lineage alone, saying he is from this tribe and he is from another tribe. He will not go into other details. Anyone who has any problem in their family will be accepted. It will be enough that they know which tribe they belong to. That is what, as how Maimonides understand it. And that is it. Another point I recently came across, which is worth noting, that when we learn the Bible, it's good to learn the Bible, especially the Old Testament, not getting into theological discussions here, but especially the Old Testament. Why? Because the Old Testament is, from those who are of Israelite origin, are the records of your ancestors, of Israelite ancestors, and even if your ancestors were not Jewish, but they were probably devout Christians, they probably read the Bible. And there's something you have is like a ancestral memory. You awake the memory of your ancestors. Your ancestors read this at some time, and they were aroused by it. When you read it, as if you reconnect with them. So this is important. And also, since you are descended from Israelites, by reading the Bible, you also reconnect with them. You reconnect what was said about them, what was written down for a reason. It enables you to spiritually reconnect. And we saw above that Maimonides said that the Mashiach ben David will rule the temple, but others say will be Mashiach ben Yosef. Mashiach ben Yosef described as building the temple in different sources from Midrashim. A list on them, an article on this subject, and there are Midrashim from right up in the Middle Ages up until recently. One important person was Rabbi Zadok al-Kohen Melublin, not so long ago, 1823 to 1900. He's a significant Jewish thinker and Hasidic leader. And he says that the Messiah, son of Joseph, MBJ, will rule with the aid of the tribe of Dan. That MBJ, Mashiach ben Yosef, will build the temple. And he will be assisted by the tribe of Dan, just as by the prince of Dan and other sources. Just as Dan was a partner in building the tabernacle. That is, in the building of the tabernacle, see Exodus chapter 35. You had Bezalel from Judah, who was, and helping him was Aholiab, the son of Ahisamach of the tribe of Dan. Also the temple of Solomon. Solomon, see 1 Kings 7:13 to 14 and 2 Chronicles 2:13 to 14. He used a person, a master craftsman from Tyre, named Hira, whose mother was from Dan and whose father was from Naphtali. So there too we have an involvement with Dan in this project and in this enterprises. Also another source called Ator, which is quite popular today, also says the Messiah, son of Joseph, will be assisted by the prince of Dan. Getting back to what I began to say, I wanted to say that the lost 10 tribes, considering the Messiah, son of Joseph, the Messiah, son of David, and the Messiah, son of Joseph, and the Messiah, son of Joseph as being not only individual people, but parts of a movement, because the national religious also have that thought, that approach to it. Rabbi Kook wrote about it, others wrote about it in some detail, and they consider the present Zionist movement to be an aspect of Messiah, son of Joseph. The Messiah, son of Joseph, prepares the infrastructure. He is more involved with the physicality, with the materialism. And he, as if to say, prepares the way for the Messiah, son of David. So they say that the Zionist movement, the state of Israel, is building up the land, preparing the infrastructure, preparing the people. The people came out there, the Jews came from all over the world. They were persecuted. Some of them were in a sorry state. They had picked up all kinds of habits, all kinds of frameworks of approaches to existence. And then they suddenly have to build up a state, to have an army, to fight an army, to win wars, to do things. And this all takes psychological adjustments, social adjustments, attitudinal changes. And so this is an aspect of Messiah, son of Joseph. We're as if to say in the phase of Messiah, son of Joseph, preparing the way for the future Messianic age. So to the Messiah, son of Joseph is less religious, is more secular, involved with the secular elements. The present state of Israel is secular in many ways. It's not so religious, even though compared to other places, in some ways, people are close to Judaism, but not as much as they should be. So this is also part of the thing of at present being the Messiah, son of Joseph. And they have articles on this and have whole books on it. And they've gone into it quite deeply. And some of their insights are very helpful, so they also help us. So that too is how we see the Messiah, son of Joseph, as being part of a movement that will ours come about, as well as an individual. And the Messiah, son of Joseph, incidentally, on the Chabad article from Chabad, they also have an article on the Messiah, son of Joseph on the internet that we use. This is interesting. And there's also said that Messiah, son of Joseph, will rebuild the temple. The Midrashim Also books, Sefer Zerubbabel, all kinds of references. Also Ramban, who is Maimonides, apparently also said that. It's very important here. And he will rebuild the temple according to these sources. And he will also inform everyone that which tribe they belong to. So these two things that we saw Messiah, son of David, is supposed to do. Here we see another sources of Messiah, son of Joseph, doing. And we may reconcile this by saying that even Maimonides may be understood to allow for the possibility that things that he attributes to Messiah ben David will be carried out by others preparing the way for him, part of who he will be. And so we have these two things of building the temple and from the Israelites, which tribe they belong to. And the two things go together. And so this ties in very well. Because there are other sources that the temple will be rebuilt, but there will be a temple in existence when Messiah ben David comes. So Messiah ben Joseph will build the temple before the coming Messiah ben David. And if he builds the temple, he will want to reinstitute the service of the temple. So he'll need Cohens and Levites to do it. Therefore, he will have to purify the Cohens and Levites, know who is who, and tell them through divine inspiration. But he will do it. And so he will have to do it. You know, if he build, because that goes together with building the temple. And we said that the informing Israelites, which tribe they belong to, begins with the tribe of Levi and then goes on to the other tribes. So it ties together. And so that is a point worth noting. The Perky Hakelos says 40 years before the Messiah, son of Joseph, of David, Messiah, son of Joseph, will come and stand in Jerusalem, and all Israel will gather around him, each man with his family, and the family of Israel will bring sacrifices, which will be pleasant to God, and all Israel will be identified by their correct families. So that is, incidentally, I first noticed that in this book, Yechezkel, by an important rabbi, an Orthodox Jewish rabbi, who quotes it, and he can be relied upon to quote reliable sources or respectable sources. Rabbi Moshe Eiserman, Yechezkel, and it's also it's a valuable work in its own right, apart from it.